God bless Texas. And God bless the NRA. In 1776, 56 patriots affixed their name to the Declaration of Independence, signed their lives, fortunes, and sacred honors. When they made that commitment, those were not empty words. Those were the words that launched a revolution, the greatest experiment in freedom that the world has ever known. Today, in this gathering, we are once again in the presence of patriots. From the Minutemen at Lexington and Concord to civil rights leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, Americans have long understood that the right to keep and bear arms is fundamental for preserving our liberty. And the men and women here are committed to standing up for freedom. You know, there's been a lot of discussion today about Sutherland Springs, about what happened here in Texas. But I think there are many, many lessons that can be drawn for our country from what transpired in that small Texas town. Sutherland Springs, as you know, was the worst church shooting in the history of our country. I was in Sutherland Springs the day after the shooting. I stood in that sanctuary. The sanctuary is a small country church about the size of this stage. In that small church, a crazed madman fired over 450 rounds. Inside the church, there was shattered glass everywhere you looked. There was shattered wood on the ground. There were church pews that were overturned. There was blood on the ground everywhere. Cell phones with shattered screens lay on the ground covered in blood. But you know, the legacy of Sutherland Springs is not the evil that depraved madman sought to visit that Sunday morning. The legacy instead is how the community rose up in response, and it is a legacy of bravery and courage and sacrifice for your fellow man. At this point, everyone here knows well my friend Stephen Williford. But I want to walk you through that morning. Stephen is at home that morning when his daughter tells him, "Dad, somebody's shooting up the church." Stephen runs to his gun safe and pulls out a rifle, an AR-15. And he doesn't walk, he runs to the church. He runs barefoot, not taking the time to put on his shoes. He takes shelter behind a pickup truck across the street from the church. And he yells out at a loud voice, calling out to the shooter. The shooter is preparing to execute a young man. And he stops and instead comes out to engage with Stephen. What played out next was a gunfight. The shooter opened fire on Stephen. I've stood by that pickup truck riddled with bullet holes. The small house behind Stephen had bullet holes in the wall. The shooter, as you know, was wearing body armor. But Stephen is an NRA rifle instructor. Otherwise known as the media's perfect nightmare. Stephen put 2 rounds in the shooter, one in the leg and one in the side between the plates. The shooter threw down his rifle, jumped in a car, and took off. And at that point, a pickup truck happened to be coming around the corner. Now here it's important for you to picture the scene. Pickup truck is driven by a fellow named Johnny. Johnny and Stephen didn't know each other. Yay, Johnny. But Stephen waves him down. Now, you got to picture this scene. Stephen, as you know, he's got white hair. He's got a white beard. He's standing there barefoot, waving an AR-15. And he says, hey, some guy just shot up the church. And what does Johnny do? He pulls over and says, get in. Let's go get him. That's Texas. Now, Stephen and Johnny pursue the shooter, and they call 911 on a cell phone. Stephen looks down. He realizes he only has 2 rounds left in his magazine. So he's calling on 911 saying, you guys better get here quick. I'm down to 2 rounds. The shooter pulls off on the side of the road, takes a handgun, and takes his own life. Stephen jumps out of the truck. They don't know he's dead, points the rifle at the shooter who's slumped over in the front seat. A couple minutes later, police officers pull up. Out of the loudspeakers, they call, hey, you, throw down your gun and come out with your hands up. Now, look, Stephen doesn't want to get shot, so he puts his rifle down, comes out with his hands up. The police officers call out through the loudspeaker, no, not you. You pick your gun up. We mean the guy in the car. That's Texas, too. You know, that Monday morning, it's the first time I got to visit, Monday afternoon, first time I got to visit with Stephen on a cell phone. He had left because so many reporters had descended on the town. Stephen is a simple, humble man. He's a plumber. And he had left, but I spoke to him on the cell phone, and you know what he said to me that day, I'll never forget. He said, listen, I'm really uncomfortable with all the people using the word hero. He said, I got to tell you, I was scared out of my mind. He said, I've never been more terrified in all my life. The only response I could give, I said, Mr. Williford, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting in the face of fear. And I said, sir, I can tell you what a half dozen law enforcement officers have told me today. Every single one has said, if you had not acted, many, many more people would have been killed yesterday morning because you stood up and risked your life. There are husbands and wives and moms and dads and sons and daughters who are hugging their family and grateful to be alive. Stephen, thank you for your courage, and thank you for acting in the face of fear to save the lives of your brothers and sisters. Let me tell you a little more about the community in Sutherland Springs. You have Pastor Pomeroy and his wife, who lost their 14-year-old daughter in that church. a pastor who is helping hold that congregation together, helping hold that community together. You know, the day after the shooting, I went and visited a number of people who had been shot, a number of family members who were grieving. And one of the things that was striking, that national media reporters could never understand, over and over again when I was visiting with family members at the hospital, they would say on their own, you know, gun control is not the answer to this. It's not a topic I would bring up at that point. I was just there trying to comfort people who were grieving. And over again, I remember there was one woman, a mom, whose son was in surgery as we spoke. And she said, gun control isn't the answer. And she said, you know, we all had our guns. We just left them in the car out of respect for the church. She said, if any of us had brought our guns inside, we'd have shot that guy. He wouldn't have killed any of us. I was introduced to one fellow, introduced as Dale. Dale had been shot up pretty badly. He was on a ventilator. He couldn't speak. He'd been shot multiple times in the torso. He'd been shot in the right arm. It was bandaged pretty badly. But his left hand was free, and he could write with his left hand. Not very well, but he could write. And when I came in, he and his family were there, and he wrote out on a pad of paper, he said, "Don't blame God. This is evil." And I visited with him and his family a few minutes, and then his family asked, they asked if I would be willing to pray for Dale. I said I'd be honored. So we all held hands together and we prayed, God, I ask that you reach down and touch Dale, heal these wounds. And I ask more than that, that you use what was meant for evil. You use this to make Dale stronger, make him in a position to help others who are hurting, put Dale in a position to help bring this community back together in the face of this horrific evil. We finish the prayer, and Dale gestures over for the pad, and he writes out, "Love your thoughts, I am David." So I turned to the commanding general of BAMC, the Brooks Army Medical Center. I said, "General, you introduced him to me as Dale. You threw me under the bus." And his family begins laughing, and they say, "Oh, Dad, when you checked in yesterday, they thought your name is Dale. Everyone's been calling you Dale for a day now." We all laugh, and he gestures over for the pad again, and in scraggly writing, he writes out 3 words: "Laugh is good." That's Texas too. And you know, there's a predictable pattern that we see play out in the wake of these disasters. Within minutes of a mass shooting, within minutes of a mass murder, you have the media on air immediately calling for gun control. You have Democrats on air immediately calling for gun control. And what the men and women here understand is the solution they're putting forward doesn't solve the problem. If you want to stop violent crime, if you want to stop mass murders, and every one of us here wants to stop these horrific crimes, the answer is not to try to restrict the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. The answer is to go after violent criminals and come down on them like a ton of bricks. You know, the shooter in Sutherland Springs, it was already illegal for him to buy or possess a firearm. Doubly so. He had a felony conviction. He had a domestic violence conviction. Either one of those, current law makes it illegal for him to buy a gun. So why did he have a gun? Well, he had a gun because the Obama administration never reported his conviction to the background check system. Did you notice the press didn't talk about that? How many times did you see on the TV news someone asking an Obama administration official, why didn't you report the conviction that could have stopped this killer from carrying out this murder? I can tell you, I don't think I saw it once. And in 2013, following the horrific shooting in Newtown, I joined with Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley. We introduced legislation called Grassley-Cruz. It's how we beat off Dianne Feinstein's efforts to come after our rights in 2013. Grassley-Cruz would have ensured that the Sutherland Springs shooter's conviction was in the database, but even more importantly, Grassley-Cruz directed the Department of Justice, if a felon or fugitive tries to illegally buy a firearm, prosecute him and put him in jail. Let me give you some simple stats that, again, the media will never report. In the year 2010, roughly 48,000 felons and fugitives tried to illegally buy a gun. Of those 48,000, the Obama Justice Department prosecuted 44 of them. 44 out of 48,000. That is completely unacceptable. And do you know why Grassley-Cruz didn't pass into law? Because the Democrats filibustered it. It got a majority of votes on the Senate floor in the Harry Reid Democratic Senate. It even got 9 Democrats, the most bipartisan support. But Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer and the Democrats filibustered that legislation. They demanded 60 votes. Had that law passed into law, when the Sutherland Springs shooter went in to buy his guns, his conviction would have been in the database, the Department of Justice would have prosecuted him, and he would have been in federal prison instead of in that church murdering those innocent men, women, and children. Just once, I want to see a reporter have a fraction of the anger that they direct at law-abiding citizens, a fraction of the anger for every one of the Democrats who said, no, we don't want to go after the criminals. We're not going to target the bad guys. Our objective is to try to disarm the Stephen Willafords of the world. You know, we're at a time when there's a concerted effort to demonize the men and women here, to paint everyone here as the big bad wolf. They try to scare people. They try to suggest because you have the temerity to speak out for your rights, there's somehow something wrong about it. They ask politicians, will you denounce the NRA? Well, let me tell you this. I am proud to be a life member of the National Rifle Association. These are men and women. You are committed to defending liberty. And here's the simple reality. Truth sells. They are selling lies. And the funny thing is, not only are they selling lies, they're so ignorant about it. How many of y'all remember one major mainstream media publication talking about accessories for AR-15s and talking about chainsaw bayonets? They had a drawing of a chainsaw bayonet. You know what? I'm going afterwards to all the booths. I'm going to look for the booths selling chainsaw bayonets. I'm not sure how exactly you keep the barrel up if you got a chainsaw strapped to it, but look, these reporters, they're not in the reporting business, they're in the propaganda business. And recently, they have 2 allies. They've conscripted 2 major national banks to threaten to cut off banking to anyone who doesn't comply with their left-wing anti-gun agenda. Well, let me say to anyone in this room and anyone within the sound of my voice, if you are exercising your Second Amendment rights and you find your financial services cut off by banks that are trying to implement a political agenda, let me invite you, come to Texas. We have literally thousands of commercial bankers in Texas who would be happy to have your business, and in Texas, we believe in standing up for our rights. I want to close the way I started, by simply saying to the men and women gathered here, to each of you, to patriots, like the 56 who signed the Declaration, who pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, your standing up for freedom now has a cost. But I am grateful for your commitment to liberty, because it is protecting not just your liberty, it is protecting my liberty, it is protecting the liberty of our kids. Because we understand the Second Amendment, it's not about hunting. It's not about target shooting. The Second Amendment is about the fundamental God-given right each and every one of us has to defend our lives, to defend our homes, to defend our children, to defend our family. And when the Second Amendment says, shall not be infringed, it means exactly that, shall not be infringed. And that's what the men and women here are standing up and defending. Thank you, and God bless you.